that can happen from that. So I'm going to try and get things set up as quickly as possible. And on Python, in the bottom left corner, being purple in this game, we have NasD.
Is it nasty? Like, was that intentional?
I think so.
Who? Okay, I'll read it as that then.
It's very clever, if it is intentional.
Okay. His opponent, formerly from Complexity Gaming. His name is rsvp, spawning as Red Protoss on the 12 o'clock position.
And I'm unfortunately seeing a little bit of lag spikes. I hope. Yeah, I got a couple, but my frames per second now is really good. So it's just some initial stuff, I think. Python, of course, made with the iconic snake in the middle of the map. This map is also made by iSeal, who's an excellent map maker, so we really appreciate that. Of course, taken very straight out of the Bird War original. This map features very interesting features, actually. It has a nice defendable natural base, and that's about the only thing that is defendable on this map, because the rest is just a big open area. Let's just zoom out here a little bit and just look at... did I do this right? Yes, I did this right. Look at this big
Control Shift
open...
C.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Even
we go.
Control Shift gets it even further out. No, it's just Shift C, I think. But yeah, it's like so big. And we also have these interesting back expansions, which are kind of island expansions that are lowered with the destructible rocks on. And the reason we have destructible rocks and not minerals like they had in Bird War is that you can call down SCVs as Terran, and that will just mine them out in a way that is completely um, unfair for the other races.
Which is actually good in my opinion, because it's a different game, so you have to adapt to the style so that, oh, look at this, RFCP doing a nice harassment on the SCBs, forcing up to two additional SCBs being pulled. So nice micro coming out from RSVP.
And we are crossing our fingers in this game that your voice will not disappear once things get a little bit dicey and a lot of in-game sound will happen. But so far it's been nice and stable. Hopefully it will stay that way. And we have a factory going down early from NasD. There's really two ways to open standard versus Protoss, I would say. One is just to get a barracks straight into command center with a bunker and defend with that, and then get the factory and siege tank behind it. Or you get the factory play first and try to put on some pressure, and then you go for the command center. Anything outside of that is out of the ordinary, but not too uncommon though.
I mean, there have been some, command center first builds that some players have been trying to do, but on a map like Python, you don't want to do that, especially when the natural is little bit wider than some of the other maps out there. So
Yeah.
you want to play a little bit more safe. The popular choice on this might be Siege Expand, or even just going for an FD. Fake double, excuse me. That is the build back in Brood War, where you get up to like about 6 to 7 Marines with one siege tank, and then push out, harass your opponent while getting an expansion for yourself.
Trying,
I need to explain that.
yeah, tricking him to think that you have two factors and are actually all inning while you're just getting an expansion behind it. It's kind of like a 2-rax pressure, I think, from StarCraft 2, where you trick him to think you have a lot more going on and you're actually just defending behind it. So once he holds the push, he might actually be behind even if he holds it. And here comes a couple of Dragoons going to be harassing, and they're going to do a lot of damage to these Marines because they do outrange the Marines quite nicely, and they outpower them as well just in muscle because they're so strong.
Yeah, I
Dragoons...
was just a little bit surprised that the Marines were actually sitting on the ledge right there, because Dragoons can easily shoot them down. But he does have the siege tank, but he needs to micro carefully, because if RSVP micros it well, then he can take out the siege tank, and he does not want that to happen, so he needs to watch out.
And the siege tank does actually take out a Dragoon and defends nicely there without much need of micro, so NasD getting a nice beginning there. And the plan for RSVP now is just to make sure NasD doesn't expand any faster than he can, and make sure he doesn't lose any Dragoons at the same time. So he needs to watch those Dragoons carefully, because siege tech will be up. Well, it might be
Hold on
up,
a second.
but it's not up.
This build is a little bit weird, because he's getting a second siege tank out. He is actually... Did he actually get sieged?
I don't. That
Siege
would have
was...
been super fast if he got siege. I have the game
Yeah.
out interface, so I can't see. But there's no. He's getting spider mines. I don't really think he can get siege. But you can actually pressure with siege tanks quite a bit if you have a lot of Marines versus Dragoons without siege tech as well. And in the meantime, RSVP is getting the Nexus in the back, so he's not. He's trying to stay ahead economically.
I am still not sure about the second tank over there, because yes, the first tank was a little bit low on HP, but as long as he has a position on the high ground with the siege, siege mode, then he can get the command center down, and he's gonna be completely safe on top of the ledge over here to a point where the dragoons cannot actually harass the Terran anymore. So, and he was thinking about getting a third tank behind this. So, I'm just shaking my head a little bit, saying, I don't know if this is gonna work out well.
Well, I don't think he has siege mode though, so I guess that's why he wanted the
Yeah.
second tank. But the fact that he is not researching siege mode, he's going for a lot of vultures, and this is a really funky build I've never seen before. And this siege tank does not want to be repaired. Oh, it's the auto spread kicking in. That's an interesting byproduct of the auto spread, is that repairing units that are not on hold position might be a little bit difficult. But not a lot of units from rsvp. I don't think he's expecting this push coming right now, because I think he's expecting siege mode and expansion, not vultures with spider mines, and soon speed. Or do they have speed? No, they're getting speed. Why isn't my... Oh no, he's getting siege mode after all. He's very indecisive what upgrade he
Yeah.
wants.
I mean, he could have committed to the vultures and then running into the main base and getting a spider mines down inside the main base near the gateways, but it's not like that. So he's just trying to get as much tech as possible, but he also needs to watch out because RSVP, he's been having the natural expansion a lot longer than NAS right now, and NAS, I don't know if he actually knows that he is really far behind in economy game compared to his opponent, but given that RSVP did not make too much probes, so NAS actually has 3 more SCVs than his opponent.
Yeah, that's. I'm surprised to see that too. That NAS is actually ahead economically. Well, not necessarily he was ahead economically, but now he should be soon, as he's mining from both bases. Um, it is more effective in Starbow to spread your workers out over several bases, but not as effective as some people think. And I'm gonna, after this tournament at some point, I think I'm gonna make a video explaining the economy of Starbow, because there are a lot of misconceptions about that. Thinking that spreading out workers very thinly is going to very much increase your income, and it's not as
Ooh.
high as you might think.
Well, hold on a second. I think RSVP wants to try to make something happen. He has 4 Zealots in this War Prism. He can either do it, he can either pretty much drop the Zealots on top of the siege tanks or just harass the main base, but it seems like he wants to go on top of the siege tanks. Gonna
This is
try to
going to be
draw out the
very
will.
difficult to actually engage this position, and yeah, that didn't do anything, to be honest. I was almost hoping he would elevator the units up to the main base, because his nasty's position is very little mobile at the moment. He's getting a siege tank on the high ground here, and these dragoons have to get out of there.
Yeah, that little micro over there wasn't perfect. I think what RSVP wanted to do is at least take out a siege tank while using the spider mines to drag the spider mines into the siege tanks. But that didn't work out perfectly. But it's still okay because he lost a couple of zealots, but he didn't lose any dragoons, which is a crucial part in the early to mid game in PBT.
So we have an interesting third base from RCP taking the mineral only, and that's something you don't really scout for, because no one ever does it so early in the game. So that might go unnoticed a long time from Nasty, to be honest. In the meantime, the tech pattern for RSVP seems to be, basic units, teching just with upgrades, getting the zealot speed, getting the forge for the basic unit upgrades, and it's very standard versus a meching Terran, that you don't want to rush for arbiters or rush for super high upgrades, but you want to slowly add on tech as the game goes along.
Yeah, this is a classic PBT style that we see from Brood War that now RSBP is playing right now, and that's he's gonna go for the vulture harassment into the main base. Let's see how RSBP reacts to this once it arrives. But RSBP, he's doing a really nice job. He's keeping his opponents inside the main base with the dragoons right outside of NASA's natural, so that he knows when the vultures are moving out on the map, and he can defend the third easily. But that dropship, I don't think is noticed at all.
And I really like this. Nasty's gonna harass the third base and drop at this natural at the same time. Really nice play for him there, and it's gonna be very difficult. Yeah, RCP defends the natural, but he's not defending the third base, taking out the cannon right after it finishes and picking off every single probe at this nexus. And he's gonna get this dragoon as well, but now he needs to head out of there because there's a lot more dragoons coming.
I mean, that's the problem with fast expansion on Python, is that you're taking a third that's really vulnerable to vulture harassment. You don't have cannons over there, you don't have gateways over there, and now these vultures are just going to wreak havoc on the probes, especially since the dragoons are out of position.
Yeah, only zealots to defend versus vultures, and that's not the best unit to kill vultures, but if you can get them surrounded, of course, that might help. Oh, nice Fulton cannon placement. They're almost trapping the vultures in. And this dragoon is going to clean up the rest, but overall, very nice harassment from Nasty there. I think he... Oh, did he drop some in the main base as well? I think he did, yes.
He did.
Sorry,
He
I
did
missed
trying
that.
to get... Yeah. But interesting thing is that rsvp, while taking out third expansion, while going for all these nice movements, he didn't macro his excuse me, not macro, but he didn't make too many probes. Only 6 probes have been killed so far in this game, but he is down in 20 workers compared to his opponent.
Yeah, he is falling behind. I'm kind of surprised to see this. RCP is usually a solid player, and he also likes to go for the Sentinel opening versus Terran, and he's choosing not to do that now. I'm not really sure why. He seems to be a very solid build for him, but
Hmm.
maybe he's saving that for later.
And he's actually choosing to go storms this game.
Very
Hmm.
interesting. We're also getting an interesting upgrade that's only for Starbow called LiDAR Transmitter, which enables you to scan without using energy. So you can use the energy
Yep.
for overcharge instead, but it does have a cooldown, so it's not like free scans. Not completely free scans, I guess I would say.
Well, it's still better than just, uh, using the energy from the command center. But we got double drops going out, and it's not gonna get scouted. Really nice play from NasD right there, just trying to see if there's any observers spawning that. However, there are units at the natural, and RSBP should be able to defend against the drop easily, unless NasD tries to go inside the main base.
If he can get some, if he can get some mines on the ledge before the units come back to defend, that would be very good. But I think it's going to be just a tad too late. In the meantime, the Dragoons are harassing the third of NasD and almost getting that command center. I'm going to follow this drop for now, and we'll look at the third base later. But yeah, this drop will be held off quite easily. But the Dragoons are actually going to get this
Uh-oh.
orbital.
Yeah, he's actually not repairing it on time. That orbital is gonna go bye-bye. The vultures come in, trying to save at the last minute, but it's not gonna work out. However, the spider device in the back connect perfectly to the dragoons. That's gonna deal nice damage and gonna drive RSBP away. But certainly these dragoons did the job, except for the 3 in the front that's just getting hit.
Ooh, wow, that was a really nice mine connection there. And I think whatever you did with Sky worked, because this is a lot better than it was the last games, and I hope it can stay this way and we can have the rest of this tournament without much more delays and fixes. That would be very nice.
Alright, so just looking at the supply for both of the players, seems like the army count is really similar, but RSBP is still a little bit behind when it comes to the probe count, as we have 67 SCVs to 49 probes. Certainly, and I'm a little bit curious why RSBP is only sticking to High Templars. Usually in a PBT against Meg, if you're going for the Dragoon Zal composition, you want to get the Arbiter out. You want to transition into something like Carriers. Getting a High Templar is nice, but, it doesn't do as much as Arbiters or Carriers in this game.
It does not. And RCP taking the fourth base in the back, and I like that. Taking that base is a little bit of work. Like, you have to get units there, you have to kill the rocks, you have to do all this, but after that work, it's a very nice and secure base to take. And a lot of people tend to forget about that base, and RCP is, I really like that choice. I guess, I can only imagine he will be getting Arbiters at some point, but yes, he's getting the Stargate up now.
There we go.
But it's just a little bit later than you would expect. In the meantime, though, NasD has still not retaken his third base, even though it is very... He has a nice little siege line to defend it easily, so that really needs to get up ASAP. He has it in his main base, he just needs to move it.
To be quite honest, in this game, RSVP getting a later Arbiter is actually working out because he actually destroyed the third command center. Usually, if the Terran player is comfortable on 3 bases, they'll get up to 200, 200, or +2, and then start moving out on the map. Before that happens, you want the Arbiters who want stasis against the units. However, because RSVP was so active on the map and destroyed the command center, the timing attack from NasD has been delayed significantly to a point where even if he gets the Arbiters a little bit late, I think it's not as bad as some people might think, but still, he needs to get it out as soon as possible because the Vulture count is getting high, he's getting nice upgrades, and the Siege tank count is getting really high.
I think NasD might have missed the timing window there. RSVP was taking a lot of expansions, taking a lot, didn't really have that big of an army. The supply difference is quite big, but now the army is coming, now the economy starts to kick in, and I think he had NasD might have had a timing to attack there and make sure that he didn't lose too much from losing that third base, but I think that timing window is gone now. Not recognizing the moment. Not a lot, all of the vultures of NasD moving out, and this might be an overcommitment. This has to do so much damage to be good, because now all the siege tanks are left alone and naked, and these vultures will have to do a lot of damage, unless he can just get them safely home again, of course.
Well, he's gonna try to get him safely home as he has everything bunched up. Not to, I think he could have snuck in maybe about 4 to 5 vultures into the main base, and yes, attacking that nexus is not a great idea. He's gonna trap himself inside that area. So really nice decision making by NasD. Not too sure if bringing all the vultures was necessary, but still.
Oh, the mines!
Psych.
Wow, those mines killing so many zealots. Well, only a couple of zealots there, but I like placing the mines there in the reinforcement path. That's always nice to do. Always this little trickery. And those mines blowing up and you still not disappearing just tells me that this is going to work now. And here we go. RCP going for it. I don't think he has to do this. He has so many bases. He has so much map
Oh,
control. There's no reason for him to go for this attack, I feel.
the Zealots just completely melts the siege tanks. The Vultures are doing a nice job surrounding the Dragoons. The Widow Mine, excuse me, not Widow Mines, but the Spider Mines are also doing a nice job driving those away. He's losing Vultures a lot, but it doesn't matter because the significant part of the Terror Mech army is the siege tanks. And how many siege tanks did he lose? Maybe one, maybe two, but not that many. And rsvp is forced to pull back from this.
Hang on, there's a unit loss tab here. There we go. He only lost 4 siege tanks, so yeah, very nice.
This game total in the game, but in that engagement, I think I only saw 1 or 2.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Oh, now our NasD is actually going to seize this moment and go for it. He's a little bit indecisive where he wants to pressure RCP, and RCP still has a surprising amount of units saved, so this is going to be a very difficult push to pull off from NasD, and it's also going to be a very difficult spot for RSVP to defend.
Oh, the siege things are kind of exposed, but here comes the Vulture reinforcement, and yeah, the RSVP does not have enough units. He doesn't have high Templars for Storm or the Stasis to actually engage this army. It seems like he might even have to give up the 5th Nexus on the 3 o'clock position. But here's a nice drop inside the main base, but the Vultures are already in position, almost getting that, what was the name of the building? Fusion Core right there. I always forget the name of the Fusion Core.
Oh, he's gonna get it though because it's not repairing it. Well, he could have sniped those tanks. He didn't see that they didn't have any support. But here comes the zealots in, and there's gonna be happy to see that there's only a couple of tanks. But in the meantime, he's gonna siege up and maybe kill this base. RSVP moving his army around. Do not want to fight the mech army head on and tries to go for the other flank instead. Just kind of giving up his 5th base, I guess that is.
Yeah, and this is actually nice positioning from RSVP because the Terran Mech army, if they want to reinforce, they have to cross this middle path. So he's just cutting off the reinforcements completely until he gets to 200, or if he can actually attack into this army. Nice War Prism. He's going to drop this also on top of the siege things. That's going to wipe out the first line, but the second line and the third line seems too heavy, and the Spider Mines are hitting perfectly against the Dragoons. That's going to force RSVP back once again.
Oh, this Observer was just hanging out in the back. In the meantime, RCP is trying to go for a counterattack at the natural, trying to drop wherever he can as well. But getting cleaned up by the Vultures here. We have 63 SCVs to 53 drones still, so NasD is still ahead in worker count, but in income he is not ahead at, well, oh, he need to put him back into mining, so that was a false income tab, I would say. It's gonna get up soon. Oh, a couple of High Templars in the middle of the map. Yes, please, says NasD, and picks them off even without them getting a storm off. So this small group in the middle are very vulnerable to this Vulture harass, and NasD actually just keeping his position over at the other side of the map here. A little bit risky to try to go home with that group. Maybe if you can get a sandwich in the middle.
Yeah, well, he's going to get a nice sandwich with the Vultures from 2 sides, and even if the Dragoons counter the Vultures, that's a lot of Vultures right there. He can actually snipe off the Dragoons if the Spider-Man's hit perfectly, but it doesn't really split well, so he's going to have to be forced away from the Dragoons, but he does keep the siege things alive. What I'm a little bit curious, however, is that while NasD is doing a nice job engaging, he is down in supply, he is not getting a forward command center behind this, and his main is dried out. Behind this RSVP, he has a third mineral only third base. He is taking a Nexus at the 2 o'clock position, and he already has a mining base at 1 o'clock. So his economy is completely fine. Even if he loses a few units, he can make additional units, and the biggest thing right now is that NasD is not scouting for the unit composition of RSVP inside the main base. He doesn't know what tech he is going for. Guess what we are seeing right now?
Carriers. We are seeing carrier transition. I'm very excited to see this, and unfortunately NasD does not, or else he would be making a lot more Goliaths than he is right now. He has no anti-air whatsoever, and if RSVP can get a decent number of carriers out, I would say anywhere between 6 and 8 carriers without NasD knowing, he can make a swift attack and maybe just surprisingly overwhelm his opponent.
Well, the magic number in Brood War was 4. Not too sure what the magic number is in Starbow, but he is gathering up the carriers. NasD has no clue about it whatsoever. He he's only focused on one, defending that 3 o'clock position. And oh, but he actually sees the carriers now. So can he actually defend against it? He is making 3 Goliaths at a time.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how fast they start making Goliaths after spotting those carriers. And he hid the carrier tech at the 4th base there. He has one other carrier going over to kill this unit. And actually, if he hadn't scouted the carriers, he would have been scouting them soon, because rsvp was just showing those carriers off, wanting to just use a couple of them. I don't know if he's going to go full carrier transition, or if he's just going to trinkle in few and just kind of trick his opponent to make too many Goliaths.
Well, that's the decision that he can make right now because he is only making 1 carrier at a time. And, you know, you don't want to... If you actually overcommit to carriers, then you can actually overpower Goliaths. But first of all, I don't agree with carriers on this particular map because
Yeah,
there's too
I was
much
about
open
to
space
say
in
the
the
same
middle of the
thing.
map. So you don't want to go carriers on this particular map. And number 2, he's only making up to 3 carries, which is nice defense against some of the siege things and vultures, but he is not overcommitting to carriers at this point. He does have +1, however, so we're going to have to see if rsvp is going to stick to the carriers or just going to transition completely back to ground army.
I'm curious to see how many Goliaths we have out now, because I really like the couple of carriers with the main army strategy, and I really hope he doesn't make a second Stargate, but he just sticks, and hopefully he can get an Arbiter out as well with this. I think that would be a nice addition, and just keep the ground force strong, and of course just try and get as many bases up as possible. The game has calmed down a little bit. Been a lot of back and forth. I'm surprised rsvp held things as much as he did. NasD had some incredibly strong pushes there. And rsvp is not out of this game yet.
And actually, I think rsvp is actually ahead in the mind games and in the game completely because if you look at the bigger picture, carriers allowed him to actually secure the base to the right and also force NasD to force out a lot of Goliaths. So rsvp, if he doesn't make too many carries in this game, then he could just overpower the ground army with the Dragoons, the Zealots, and the Templars. But these 2 vultures are doing a nice job wiping out every single probe at the 3 o'clock position. These SCVs are running away from the War Prism. So
and another storm
amazing storm on all of the SCVs. I don't know how many kills that got, but completely annihilated 3rd base over here. Really nice storm by rsvp.
Well, that storm single-handedly put him ahead in workers killed, and you see how many workers the vultures have killed towards this game, so that says something about how effective that storm drop was. And another storm drop going down in the bottom base for rsvp as well. And like you said, rsvp is playing this game very smartly. I would say he was behind and he's getting himself ahead by just playing smart.
Oh man,
As
this game always reminds me how painful spider mines and storms are.
and NasD is going like, wait a minute, there aren't really that many carriers out there, and he's back to producing vultures and tanks now, and that's a good decision from him. Oh, the vultures are going to get ahead of the army, could flank up some mines, but no, they're just going to get out before they get sandwiched, and NasD is going to go for it, saying, I had enough of losing SCVs. Oh, huge storms going off, and he's just going to go and try and kill rsvp.
Yeah, and these C6 are actually not siege. They're just 1A into this army, thinking that, okay, there isn't that much army from rsvp. I can just win with the 1A. But I feel like he lost a lot more than he should have. And with the reinforcements arriving from the bottom, NasD lost all of his army. GG, well played. And rsvp is going to take game number 1 in this best of 3 series.
Now, people are saying stuff.